Far away from Earth, in a bright and shining part of the galaxy, there was a planet named Varela. It was home to a powerful alien empire known for its advanced knowledge, strict rules, and proud leaders. Among them was Princess Loma, the daughter of Queen Selva and heir to the Varelan throne. Loma was smart, serious, and never accepted defeat. She was trained in logic, war tactics, diplomacy, and everything a ruler needed to know. Every few years, the young royals of different planets took part in a special event called the Royal Challenge. It was a test of mind, strategy, and decision-making. The winner would gain respect across the stars. The loser, however, would have to accept a punishment chosen by the winner. It was an old tradition. Some saw it as a game. Loma saw it as a battle she had to win. This year's challenge took place on a floating city above the silver oceans of Varela. Young leaders from many planets came, wearing robes, armor, or tech suits. Loma arrived dressed in a long blue cloak with silver patterns that showed her royal status. Her eyes were calm, but inside, she was ready to prove she was the best. The main task was simple but tricky. Each royal had to manage a fake world filled with tiny problems, food shortages, political unrest, energy issues, trade fights, and more. They had to lead their people wisely and solve problems faster and better than the others. Every move was watched, every mistake counted. At first, Loma was ahead. Her world was peaceful, her trade strong, and her people satisfied. But on the second day, something unexpected happened. A surprise twist was added. A fake virus spread across all the worlds. Now, the young rulers had to act quickly to save their citizens. Loma stayed calm, but another royal, a sharp thinker from the moon world of Zirin, acted faster. By the end of the last day, the scores were shown. Loma had come second, just behind Prince Gale of Zirin. It was a shock. No one expected the Varelan princess to lose. Loma didn't show her feelings, but her hands were tight at her sides. She had never lost before. Prince Gale, smiling in victory, walked to the center as the winner. He was allowed to give a punishment to one royal. All eyes turned to Loma. Even Gale looked unsure. But tradition was tradition. I choose Princess Loma for the royal punishment, he said in a friendly voice. And her punishment is this: she must marry a being from a species not part of any royal bloodline. A simple one that knows little of our ways. To be exact, a human from Earth. Gasps spread through the room. Earth was known, but it was far behind in technology and culture. No one had ever married a human, especially not a royal. Some thought it was funny, others were silent. Loma stood still. She wanted to refuse, but she knew the rules. If she denied the punishment, she would lose her royal rights. Her family's name would be stained. As a princess, she had to accept. I accept the punishment, Loma said clearly. Her voice did not shake. I will follow the command. The council confirmed it. A team was formed to select a human from Earth. Not a leader or warrior, just an ordinary one. As the punishment said, someone with no royal ties. Someone unknown. Loma returned to her ship, silent. Her guards walked behind her, unsure of what to say. The princess had lost, and now she had to marry a human. For Varelans, marriage was not just personal, it was political, symbolic, and sacred. This was no small thing. Inside her private chamber, Loma sat by the glowing window. The stars looked calm. Her eyes were thoughtful. She wondered what kind of creature this human would be. Were they all simple-minded, as the stories said? Were they loud and wild, as some claimed? She had no choice now. She would soon find out. Back on Earth, far from all of this, a man named Tomo worked in a small town as a technician. He repaired machines, helped with power systems, and lived a quiet life. He had never left his planet. He had never seen an alien. He did not know that. Soon, his life would change forever. Tomo lived in a quiet town on the edge of a dry hill. He fixed broken things for a living. If a water pump failed, Tomo could fix it. If a machine stopped working, he would open it, clean the parts, and make it work again. People liked him. He was calm, soft-spoken, and always ready to help. He lived alone in a small house made of stone and metal. His town was not rich, but the people were kind. Children played in the dusty streets, old folks sat under trees, and traders moved slowly through the town square. Life was simple. Tomel had no idea that his name was already being discussed in space. Far above Earth, the Varellan team searched through human records. They had orders to find a human who was not a leader, soldier, or scientist. It had to be someone ordinary, someone who lived a simple life and followed normal habits. They searched cities, farms, and villages. After days of study, they picked Tomel. He was smart but quiet, skilled with his hands, but not famous. He had no family power, no great wealth, and no high education. He fit all the rules. A perfect match for the princess's punishment. The next day, something strange happened in Tomel's town. It started with a sound, a soft hum in the sky. People looked up and saw a smooth, silver ship floating above the town. It did not look like anything made on Earth. It moved slowly, then stopped in the air. No wings, no noise. Just silence and light. Everyone stared. Some hid, some ran, some just watched. Tomel stood still, tools in hand. He was not afraid. He had never seen a ship like that, but he felt no danger, only curiosity. The ship opened. A ramp came down, and 3 beings walked out. They wore shiny robes and had long fingers and tall heads. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes glowed faintly. One of them stepped forward and spoke through a device that changed the words into human speech. "We come in peace. We seek the one named Tomel." People looked around. Some pointed. Tomel raised his hand slowly. "I am Tomel," he said. The aliens nodded. One of them walked closer. "You have been selected by royal command," the voice said. "You are invited to take part in the sacred union. You are to meet Princess Loma of Varela." Tomel blinked. He thought it was a dream, or maybe a strange joke. But the beings were real. The ship was real. The words were clear. "You mean marriage?" he asked. "Yes," the voice replied. "It is part of royal custom. You are not forced, but your agreement is hoped for." Tomel looked at the people around him. They were just as confused. He looked at the ship, then back at the beings. "I don't understand why me," he said. "You were chosen for your balance. Your nature fits the requirement. You are calm, skilled, and not bound by power." Tomel thought for a moment. He had no family ties, no job he couldn't leave. He had always wondered what life looked like beyond Earth. Now he had a chance, a strange one, but still a chance. "I will come," he said at last. The beings nodded. "Prepare to leave." The town watched in silence as Tomel walked up the ramp. The ship rose slowly, then disappeared into the sky. Hours later, on Varela, Princess Loma stood inside a large hall, staring at a screen. It showed the Earth human who had been chosen. He was not strong, not noble, not wise in galactic matters. Just a normal man with tools in his hand and dust on his clothes. "This is the one," she asked her advisor. "Yes, Princess. His name is Tomel. He lives a quiet life. He is respectful and well-spoken." Loma said nothing. She turned away from the screen and looked out at the stars. She had lived her whole life surrounded by leaders, warriors, and teachers. Now, she was to marry someone who fixed water pumps and old machines. A human, a stranger, all because of a lost bet. The next day, the ship landed on Varela. Tomel stepped out and looked around. The world was bright and full of tall silver towers, blue trees, and floating platforms. Strange animals flew through the air. People in glowing robes moved with grace and purpose. He was led to a clean chamber where he was given food, water, and new clothes. Soft blue fabric, simple in design but rich in feel. He washed and rested. Hours later, he was taken to the royal court. The court was filled with nobles, all standing in a circle. In the center was Princess Loma. Tomel saw her for the first time. She was tall and elegant, with silver eyes and calm steps. Her face showed no anger, but also no joy. She looked at Tomel like someone studying a map. Quiet and focused, he bowed politely. "Greetings, Princess, he said. Loma nodded. You are Tomel of Earth. Yes, I am Loma of Varela. This union is not my choice, but I accept it by law. You may speak freely. Tomel took a breath. I don't know why I was chosen, but I will respect this custom. I will not bring shame to your name. Loma studied his words. They were simple, but honest. He did not try to impress her. He did not beg or boast, just clear speech. She turned to the court. The bonding phase shall begin, she said. Tomel was taken to a guest room near the royal gardens for the next few days. He and Loma would share meals, learn each other's ways, and prepare for the bond. It was not yet a full marriage. First, they had to understand each other. Loma sat alone in her chamber that night. She had expected a fool, a clown, or a wild man. But Tomel was none of those things. He was quiet and steady, not exciting, but not foolish either. This will be strange, she whispered. And far away, in his own chamber, Tomel stared out the window at the 3 moons of Varela. This is not what I expected, he said softly. But maybe it's a start. The sun of Varela rose slowly over the shining towers of the capital city. The sky turned soft blue as small flying ships moved between platforms. The people of Varela started their day with silence, order, and exact timing. Everything had a place. Every action followed a rule. It was how the royal city had always worked. Tomel, however, was not used to such order. He woke up in a smooth round room filled with soft light and quiet music. A floating voice told him the time. His bed adjusted itself to his body shape. A fresh robe was ready on a nearby stand. He looked around and whispered to himself, this is not Earth. Soon, a polite servant guided him to the breakfast hall. There, he found Princess Loma already sitting. She wore a long silver robe with blue lines that showed her rank. Her hair was tied in a royal knot, and her eyes watched him calmly. Good morning, Tomel said. You are late by 6 minutes, Loma replied without emotion. Tomel gave a small smile. Where I come from, we say better late than never. Loma raised one eyebrow but said nothing. Their breakfast was served in quiet. Small floating trays brought colorful fruits, steamed roots, and glowing drinks. Tomel took his time, tasting everything. He liked the fruit that tasted like soft apples. He didn't touch the glowing drink. Loma watched him. You eat without thinking of order. No pattern. No respect for food lines. Tomel looked at her. On Earth, we just eat what we like first. That is not logical, she said. Tomel didn't argue. He just nodded and kept chewing. After breakfast, Loma led him to the Hall of Bonds, where they were to begin the first phase of the bonding cycle. A tall Varelan elder stood beside them. This stage is called the understanding. The elder said, you will spend time together. You will share knowledge, history, and daily life. The bond cannot grow without learning. Tomel bowed slightly. Understood. Loma nodded. We may begin. For the next few days, they followed a fixed plan. In the mornings, Loma taught Tomel the history of her people. She showed him their star maps, their ancient laws, and the long stories of royal leaders. She taught him about energy crystals, air channels, and their silent code language. Tomel listened carefully. He did not understand everything, but he asked good questions. He often paused to write notes in a small book. Loma found that interesting. Most people used memory pads or mind links. Tomel preferred a pen and paper. In the afternoons, Tomel shared things from Earth. He told her about simple tools, farming, how machines worked, and how humans fixed problems without advanced tech. He told her about stories, songs, and how people celebrated small things like birthdays or rainy days. Loma listened, but often with a strange look. Your people waste time in things with no result, she said once. Tomel smiled. Not everything needs a result. Sometimes we enjoy just doing things. Loma said nothing, but she thought about those words later. One day, Tomel asked to go outside the city walls. Loma agreed, though with some hesitation. They took a skycar and landed near the edge of a wild forest. The trees were tall and glowing, with soft leaves that changed colors when touched. This place is called the Whispering Grove. Loma said, "It is used for silence and reflection." Tomo walked slowly, touching the bark and listening to the soft hum of nature. "It's peaceful," he said. Loma stood beside him, arms crossed. "I come here sometimes to think." Tomo picked up a small fallen branch and shaped it into a circle using a tool he kept in his pocket. He handed it to her. "A gift," he said. "We make these for friends back home, simple, but made by hand." Loma held the wooden ring in her fingers. It had no value, no power, no meaning in her world, but it was made just for her. "Thank you," she said softly. That evening, Loma sat in her chamber, staring at the wooden ring. She placed it on her table, next to her royal badge. It looked out of place, but she did not move it. The next morning, Tomo was late again, this time by 10 minutes. Loma looked at him as he walked into the hall. Again, Tomo scratched his head. "I got lost. This place has too many doors." Loma gave him a small look of disapproval, but she did not say more. They walked together to the garden. Today's task was a joint test. They were to build a simple device together using both Varellan and Earth tools. The machine had to light a small orb without using energy crystals. Tomo suggested using a hand-turn coil. Loma wanted to use light pressure from wind. "We can combine both," Tomo said. "Your wind can move the coil. My wires will carry the spark." Loma agreed. They worked side by side. Her hands moved with sharp grace. His hands moved with care and focus. After an hour, the orb lit up with a soft glow. The elder watched and smiled. "This is progress." Loma looked at Tomo. "You are not what I expected." "Good or bad?" he asked. "Different." Tomo smiled again. "That's fair." Later that day, as they sat by the crystal pond, Loma asked, "Do you miss your planet?" "Sometimes," Tomo said. "But I like learning new things. Your world is strange but full of wonder." "Most of my people think Earth is backward," she said. "Maybe. But backward doesn't always mean wrong." Loma looked at him for a moment, then looked away. "I don't know what this bond will become." "I don't either," Tomo said. "But I'll try to understand." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the water. That night, Loma wrote in her private log. Her words were short, but clear. "This human is not like others. He is simple, but not weak. I begin to understand his kind." And in his own room, Tomo fixed a small broken panel near the door. He liked using his hands. It helped him think. As he worked, he said to himself, "She's not as cold as she seems, just alone." The bond had not grown yet, but something had started. Respect, curiosity, and maybe the beginning of something more. The days passed quietly on Varela. Princess Loma and Tomo followed the bonding plan set by the elders. They continued learning from each other, sharing meals, and completing tasks together. Though they were different in many ways, the walls between them had started to fade. Their words were softer. Their glances were longer. Something was growing, though neither said it out loud. But while peace filled the royal garden, danger approached from the stars. Far beyond the shining towers of Varela, a dark ship floated in deep space. It belonged to Lord Kavos, an old enemy of the royal family. Kavos had once served in the Varellan court, but he had been removed after trying to break royal law. Since then, he had watched from the shadows, waiting for a chance to strike. When news of Princess Loma's strange punishment reached him, he saw an opportunity. "They mocked the royal name," Kavos said to his followers. "They mixed their blood with a lowly human. This weakens their power. This is my time to act." Kavos made a plan. He would kidnap the princess from Earth's bond and hold her until the Varellan crown gave up their power. He believed the royal family had become too soft, too open to strange ideas. Marrying a human was a sign of weakness. In his eyes, his ship turned toward Varela. It carried shadow drones, energy nets, and cloaking shields. His goal was clear: reach the princess. Take her. Break the new bond before it grew stronger. Back in the palace, Tomo was in the royal workshop. He was fixing a power line connected to one of the garden lights. Loma watched him from a short distance. He worked with focus, speaking only when he needed help. She found it calming to watch him. You did not ask for help much, she said. Tomo smiled while turning a small tool. I like to figure things out first. It makes the fix more satisfying. Loma stepped closer. In Varela, we work in teams. I work better with wires than people, Tomo said softly. Loma tilted her head. You are not as simple as I once believed. Just then, a soft alarm beeped from the sky window. It was a quiet signal, one only used for private alerts. Loma's eyes narrowed. She walked quickly to the panel and pressed it. A small screen opened, showing a guard, Princess. The guard said, We detected an unknown ship entering outer space. It is no clear ID. It's moving fast toward the city. Raise the shields, Loma ordered. Send scout drones. Tomo stood up. What's going on? Trouble, she said. Stay close. Within minutes, the sky above the palace turned darker. The shield domes activated with a quiet hum. Blue light circled the city walls. Drones flew into the sky to scan the unknown ship. But Kavos had prepared well. His ship was cloaked with shadow tech that hid it from most scans. While the royal guards searched the upper sky, Kavos' ship dropped lower. Hiding under the silver clouds, he sent 3 drones toward the bonding wing, where Tomo and Loma stayed. Inside the workshop, the lights flickered. Tomo looked around. That's not normal. Loma touched her wrist device. Someone is trying to break through the shield net. The door opened, and a guard ran in. Princess. Drones approaching from the east. We need to get you to the safe room. But Loma stood firm. No, I will not run. Tomo looked at the panel on the wall and quickly moved to it. He opened a small box, studied the wires, and frowned. The drones are using a signal to confuse the main line. He said, I can block it, but I'll need a minute. Do it, Loma said. The guards took position by the door. Loma stood beside Tomo, watching as he worked fast with his tools. He used a coil from his pocket, rewired the circuits, and pressed a small switch. A loud spark jumped, and the screen lit up again. Their signal is broken, Tomo said. At that moment, the drones broke through the side wall. They were black, round machines with red lights and claws. One moved toward Loma, the other toward Tomo. Tomo jumped aside as the drone fired a stun pulse. He rolled behind a pillar and grabbed a broken metal rod. Loma pulled a small energy blade from her robe and blocked the second drone with clean strikes. Tomo ran forward and slammed the rod into the back of the drone chasing him. The machine sparked and dropped. The other one flew up, but Loma spun and cut its wing. It fell and hit the ground hard. More guards arrived. The remaining drone flew away fast, sending a final signal to Kavos. Inside his ship, Kavos frowned. They resist better than expected. He turned his ship around and vanished into deep space. But his message was clear. He would return. Back. In the palace, the dust settled. The guards carried the broken drones away. Tomo sat on the floor, breathing hard. Loma stood beside him. You fought well, she said. I just reacted, Tomo said. You fought better. You fixed the signal, she said. Without that, we wouldn't have stopped them. Tomo looked up at her. We make a good team. Loma nodded slowly. Yes, we do. That evening, the queen herself called them to the central hall. She listened to the report and looked at Tomo with new eyes. You defended our princess with no training, no weapons, and no fear, she said. That is not weakness. That is courage. Tomo bowed. I only did what felt right. The queen smiled gently. You are not just a part of this bond by punishment now. You have earned your place. Later, as Tomo and Loma returned to their rooms, they walked side by side in silence. I never expected to face danger like that, Tomo said. Loma looked ahead. There will always be danger when change begins. Tomo glanced at her. Do you think this change is good? Loma didn't answer right away. Then she said, I think it might be. They walked on. Under the light of Varela's moons, the wind was soft, the garden quiet. And though neither said it aloud, both of them felt the bond between them begin to grow stronger, not from law or duty, but from trust. After the attack, the palace on Varela was quieter than before. The tension slowly melted. but a new feeling lingered, one of change and hope. Princess Loma and Tomel now shared more than rules and customs. Something real was beginning between them, even if neither spoke it. Loma woke early that morning. She stood by the window, looking out at the silver towers that shone under the 3 moons. Her mind was restless. The attack had shown her that Tomel was not just a simple human. He was brave and quick, but also calm in danger. She felt respect growing in her heart still. She did not fully understand humans. Their emotions, their choices, their ways of thinking were strange to her. On Varela, decisions were made by logic and duty. Feelings were controlled or hidden. But Tomel's world was different. Tomel walked through the palace halls, carrying a small box. He had found old Earth music recordings stored in the royal archives. Music was something Loma did not have much time for, but Tomel thought it might help her understand humans better. He knocked on her door softly. "Princess," he said, "may I come in?" Loma nodded. Tomel sat beside her and opened the box. A small device played soft sounds, rhythms, and melodies that were gentle and strong. At the same time, "This is music," Tomel explained. "On Earth, music helps people share feelings. It can make you happy, sad, or calm." Loma listened carefully. The sounds were strange but beautiful. She closed her eyes and let the music fill the room. After a while, she opened her eyes. "Why? Do you like this?" "Because it tells stories without words," Tomel said. "It shows the heart." Loma thought about her own life filled with rules, orders, and careful words. She had never heard stories like these. "Tell me a story," she said. Tomel smiled. "I will." He spoke about Earth, about a small village near rivers and hills. He told her about people who worked hard, laughed together, and helped each other without needing laws. About children who played games and families who shared meals. His voice was calm, but full of warmth. Loma listened. For the first time, she saw life beyond duty and logic. She felt a soft pull in her chest, a feeling she did not know before. Days passed. Tomel and Loma spent more time together. She asked questions not about history or power, but about people's hopes and fears. Tomel answered honestly, telling her about his fears of losing loved ones, his hopes for peace, and his wish to find meaning in a big universe. One afternoon, they walked through the royal gardens. Flowers bloomed with colors unknown on Earth. The air smelled sweet and fresh. Tomel stopped by a tree and looked at the leaves. "Your world is beautiful," he said. Loma smiled faintly. "Thank you. But beauty alone cannot protect us." "No, but it gives us reason to protect," Tomel said. "Your people may be strong, but your world needs heart too." Loma turned to him. "You speak as if you understand everything." "I only understand what I see," Tomel said. "And what I feel when I'm with you." Loma's eyes widened. She stepped back, surprised by his words. She looked away, then met his gaze again. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "Maybe," Tomel said softly. "But sometimes the dangerous path leads to the right place." That evening, Loma sat in her chamber, thinking deeply. She wrote in her private log, "The human is more than a tool of punishment. He is a mirror showing me what I have not seen. His heart beats loud and clear, unlike the quiet of my world." Meanwhile, Tomel stood by the window, watching Varela's moons move slowly across the sky. He thought about the royal life he had entered. He missed Earth sometimes, but he also felt he was growing stronger. "I don't know what will happen," he said quietly, "but I want to be worthy of her." The next day, a message arrived from Queen Selva. She wished to speak with Loma and Tomel. The two went to the great hall, where the queen awaited with a gentle smile. "My daughter," the queen said, "I have heard much about you, Tomel, your bravery, your kindness, and your strength." Tomel bowed deeply. "Thank you, your majesty." The queen looked at Loma. "And you, my princess. You have changed. I see it." Loma nodded. "The bond is no longer just a duty." The queen smiled. "There is much to learn from each other. This union may be the future of our worlds." Tomel and Loma exchanged a glance. The road ahead was uncertain, but they were ready to walk it together. The time had come. Princess Loma and Tomel stood before the grand court of Varela. The high chamber was filled with nobles, elders, and diplomats from many planets. The walls shimmered with light, and the air was thick with expectation. The story of their bond had spread across the galaxy. Some saw it as a scandal, others as a new hope. The royal law demanded a final ceremony, the trial of choice. It was an ancient rite. The princess had to decide if she would accept the bond as her own, or reject it and end the marriage. Her decision would shape the future of her people. Loma's heart beat fast. She felt the weight of her family, her people, and her own desires. Tomel stood beside her, calm and steady. They had faced dangers, learned from each other, and grown together. Now, the choice was hers. The judge spoke first. Princess Loma, you have lost a bet and accepted a bond with a human from Earth. Today, you must decide if this bond is your own choice or just a punishment to bear. Speak freely and honestly. Loma took a deep breath. She looked around the hall, then turned to Tomel. He gave her a small nod, encouraging but silent. She began, her voice clear but soft. I have learned much from this human, from his world and from his heart. What began as punishment has become something I did not expect. The court listened in silence. Tomel was then invited to speak. He stepped forward. He was not a prince or noble. He was a man of simple origin, but his words were powerful. I did not seek power or fame, Tomel said. I did not choose this bond at first, but I have come to respect Princess Loma and her people. I wish to stand by her not because of law, but because of my own will. His honesty moved the nobles. They saw a man who spoke with truth and humility. This was different from the usual words of kings and queens. The judge then asked Loma again, do you accept this bond as your own? Loma looked at Tomel, then up at the watching crowd. She thought of her past, her duty, and her future. Her voice grew stronger. Yes, she said, I accept this bond as my own. Not as punishment, but as choice. A murmur passed through the chamber. Some were shocked, some were curious. The queen herself nodded with pride. The queen then stood and declared, today marks a new beginning for Varela. The royal family embraces change and honor and unity. I announce a new law, the bond of harmony. It allows free choice in marriage, even across species. Love and respect shall guide us, not just tradition. Applause filled the room. The nobles rose, some smiling, others thoughtful. This was history. After the ceremony, Loma and Tomel walked through the palace gardens. The air was fresh and warm. The stars shone above. For the first time, they felt free to be themselves. Tomel took Loma's hand. We did it, Loma smiled. Together. She looked at him with new warmth. Thank you for teaching me to see with my heart. Tomel squeezed her hand gently. And you showed me strength. I never knew. The future was uncertain, but they would face it side by side. Their bond was no longer a punishment. It was a promise. The palace of Varela was alive with celebration. The news of Princess Loma's choice had spread quickly across the galaxy. Many were surprised, some doubtful, but most were hopeful. A new chapter was beginning not only for Loma and Tomel, but for all who believed in change. The queen had called a special meeting of the royal council. Leaders from many planets gathered in the grand hall. Their voices were strong and full of questions. Some were concerned. How would this new law affect the empire? Would the ancient traditions hold? Queen Selva stood before them, her voice steady and clear. We face a time of change, she said. The bond of harmony is not just a law. It is a promise to our people, a promise that love, respect, and choice will guide us. We are stronger together when we open our hearts, the council listened, some nodding slowly. The queen continued, Princess Loma and Tomel show us the way. Their bond is not forced. It is chosen. It is real. After the meeting, Loma and Tomel were invited to speak to the people. The crowd gathered in the palace square, filled with beings of all kinds, Varelans, Zirans, and even humans from Earth who had come with Tomel. Loma stepped forward first. Her voice was calm but full of feeling. I was punished to marry a human. At first, I saw it as a burden, but Tomel taught me to see beyond rules and titles. He showed me the power of kindness, courage, and love. Tomel smiled and took her hand. We come from different worlds, he said, but our hearts beat the same. We can learn from each other and grow stronger. This bond is a new beginning for us all. The crowd cheered. Flowers floated in the air. Music filled the square. It was a celebration of unity and hope. In the weeks that followed, Tomel began to learn more about Varellan technology and culture. He was no longer just a simple technician. With Loma's support, he worked with scientists and engineers to find ways Earth and Varela could share knowledge. Together, they dreamed of a future where humans and aliens lived as partners. Loma also visited Earth. She walked among its forests, cities, and rivers. She met Tomel's family and friends. She saw the warmth and strength of humans up close. It changed her view forever. One evening, as the two sat under the stars on Varela, Loma said softly, "I once thought humans were too simple. Now, I see they are full of life and heart." Tomel smiled. "And you have taught me the meaning of honor and duty." They held hands and looked up at the glowing moons. Their story became a symbol. A story told across planets about how a princess lost a bet but gained a partner. How human and alien broke old rules to build something new. How the future could be brighter when hearts chose love.